We're attempting to complete the Land's End to John O'Groats cycling challenge, using mostly wild camping. Last episode we made the complex journey to Land's End, where we were hit by slow hilly days and broken bike chains. At the end of day 3, we took a gamble by setting up camp behind some bushes, while being quite exposed to passing farmers. Did we survive the night? We awoke in our sketchy campsite at the break of dawn and struck our tents before anyone noticed we were there. We heard some tractors pass by during the night, but no one challenged us if they'd seen us. The day started out with a bang. My tyre, that is. The gang noticed my tyre looked a little flat compared to their road bike tyres, so we tried inflating it. But it turns out hybrid tyres aren't supposed to go that far, and it burst. Once again, leaving me immobile. I'd also bring a spare inner tube if you could find one. I couldn't though. With no replacement, Andy and Paul left their bags with us and shot off to Halfords to buy a new one. This was a low moment for Dom and I. We were about 150 miles behind where I wanted to be. My bike seemed to have a disaster every other day, and Dom was starting to become worried about the condition of his knee. Even with the knee brace, cycling was causing his knee quite a bit of pain. We were hoping it would recover if we took it easy for a few days. To keep the dread at bay, Dom and I played a game of who can roll the broken inner tube furthest down the hill. I'm quite pleased I managed to find the actual hill on Google Street View as well. It's a pivotal point in the journey. Around an hour later, Andy and Paul returned. They had done it! They had found an inner tube which could fit my bike. Soon after, we rode on into Somerset, with hopes of putting the Devon drama behind us.
Goodbye, Devon! Hello, Somerset!
The hills were lower, the clouds less rainy. So far, Somerset was delivering. Little did we know we were heading into our greatest challenge yet. The Quantock Hills area of outstanding natural beauty was not like anything we'd faced so far. A 700-foot climb in 5 miles, when one of our teammates really needed an easy day. It was nearly 3 times hillier than Cornwall. It was too much for us. What followed was an hour of dragging heavy bikes up a mini mountain while dodging the cars we shared the road with. The views were stunning, but even when the road flattened out, it still didn't relent.
Oh, I thought the hills were over. Look how high up we are. How can there possibly be another hill?
These hills wrecked us. We waited in a clearing at the top to try and get some strength back. Luckily for us, it was all downhill from here. For the rest of the trip, the Quantock Hills became our elevation unit. 250 foot was half a Quantock, 800 foot was slightly more than Quantock. These hills really stuck with us. We picked up some really impressive speed on these hills. Dangerous, some might say. We had a KFC in the gorgeous town of Bridgewater, then shot off along the Bristol Road until we came across this beauty of a campsite just down a public footpath.
End of day 4 now. We had a few problems starting off with the day because my back tyre sort of exploded and Andy and Paul had to heroically rush to the Halfords to get it fixed. And we are a fair bit behind schedule, but given the problems that we faced, I think we're doing pretty well. And I think we're on track now to actually make some good progress and get some miles under our belts.
For all our problems, we have managed 73 miles today, taking us up to 193 total. We are finally starting to achieve a good pace. With a few more days like this, we could get back on track.
This morning we made the shocking realisation that we were actually camping on a floodplain because all the water is gone. There must be a tidal link to the via the River Severn to the sea. It's a pretty nice morning. Today we're going to try and push our luck and get actually into Wales itself by passing the River Severn. And from there we go north and north and north for about another couple of 100 miles and then we're there. It's easy.
It was an ambitious goal, but if we can manage 73 miles yesterday with the tyre drama, imagine what we could achieve on a day without problems. Our morning took us out towards the Mendips, home of Cheddar Gorge and apparently some unusual wildlife.
Hello, Mr. Peacock. How close can I get to you before you scarper? Come on. Come on. Stay in shot. Stay in shot. Oh, look, a peacock! A peacock in the Mendips. So currently standing in the Mendips, which is an absolutely beautiful area. I would be slated by the caving community if I didn't tell you that this is actually one of the caving hotspots in the UK. And it's pretty gorgeous around here, and there's even peacocks apparently.
We noticed Don was struggling, so we took an early lunch at the Congsbury Arms. Except we were too early, so we just ate pork pies in the car park. After a few more stops like this, it became apparent Don was not in a good state. He was in a lot of pain every time he bent his knee, and he was even taking painkillers. The strain of 5 consecutive cycle days had become too much to bear. Even then he tried to push on, but by the time we reached Portishead, we were all in agreement that this couldn't continue. We pulled into the Poacher. We had lunch in the beer garden and triggered the escape plan. Don's parents would drive down and pick him up with his bike, bringing him back to their house in the Midlands, and we would carry on. You'll notice these bits are in the animated style because the mood was seriously low here. It certainly wasn't the right time to stick a camera in people's faces, and also I wasn't even sure if I wanted to include this in the video. Don was optimistic. There was talk about him rejoining us when his knee healed, but for now, the gang had to continue with one man left behind. To escape Portishead, we passed over the Avonmouth Bridge, the first of the large cycle bridges on this trip. After this, we skirted around some of the industrial parts of Bristol, and eventually we spotted the Severn Bridge, our ticket to Wales.
Goodbye, England!
The Severn Bridge is one of 2 bridges along this stretch, and the only one we can cycle over. The other to our left was the Prince of Wales Bridge, and this is just an extension of the M4. This bridge is huge. It's actually a mile long. It took a long time to cross even on a bike. After we managed to get off the bridge and pass through a cool tunnel, we went straight for the Wye Valley. This was a really pretty area to cycle around, despite the weather. We'd even stumbled across the stunning Tintern Abbey, but this appeared suddenly and we whizzed past it before I had a chance to film it. But then we had our second crisis of the day. I heard a noise while cycling through one of the valleys and turned to see that Andy and Paul had come off. Andy had struck a road obstacle and Paul had crashed into the back of him. Luckily the cars behind managed to stop and both cyclists had only minor cuts and bruises. Their bikes were a little beat up, but they were still up for the challenge. The day was clearly cursed and we were keen to put it behind us. As the sun set, we saw a footpath pointing to a field behind us and set up camp there. We finished the day with another 70 miles completed, 263 miles into our journey. A journey which at this point seemed doomed.
Start of day 6 today, and we're just breaking camp in the Wye Valley. The group morale took a bit of a hit last night. One of our teammates, Dom, was complaining about knee problems for a while, and they were getting pretty bad. He was on painkillers, he was on leg supports, sheer force of will as well, but it's still, we thought it was best that for his own safety that he took a few days off, so he's gone back home for a bit. Hopefully he can catch up later, but even as a 3, we still have to go on. We still have to do this. It is a charity bike ride. We've promised so many people, and so many people are watching. We have to press on. So today we're going to go to Hereford. I'm going to go a bit north from there, pretty much straddling the England-Wales border for a little bit, and hopefully we can get about 80 miles each day. That's the dream. Let's see if we can do it.
One of the main reasons we were continuing was due to the publicity. We were raising charity money on this trip for Shelter, the homeless charity, and the Cystic Fibrosis Trust. We were also giving daily updates to friends and family via Facebook and Twitter. With all eyes on us, we had all the motivation we needed to carry on into Hereford. It seems like we'd landed in Hereford on a market day, and actually seemed quite busy for 9:30 in the morning. The bull statue represents the Hereford cattle, a breed of cow originally from this area. We were making excellent progress today as we headed towards the Shropshire Hills area of outstanding natural beauty. This area was a little hilly, but it was no Quantock Hills, and we made quick work of it. eventually reaching Acton Burnell.
So we've just pulled into Acton Burnell for a quick water break, and I think I've left Andy and Paul far behind, but I had to speed off. My vlogging instincts took over the second I heard that this place had a castle. It's fantastic, look at the thing. I don't think Andy and Paul have any intention of following me here. I had to pass through quite a lot of track, like a minute on tracks, which you wouldn't be able to get a road bike over. Fortunately, I have a hybrid. The castle was built in the 1200s for Robert Burnell, the friend and chancellor to the king at the time. Come on, Stu, this isn't York Review. You need to go find out where they are.
After hanging around the castle for a while, we arrived in Shrewsbury for a quick dinner at the Wetherspoons. While dining, a pack of drunken, middle-aged women made a rush for our bikes, but they scattered when we stood up. It was perhaps the mildest confrontation of all time. We then travelled even further, looking for a campsite around Wem. This was challenging. There were farmhouses for miles. There wasn't even a bush we could hide behind. It turned out to be the sketchiest wild camp spot yet. We found a public footpath field, but the gate was overgrown and it looked like it hadn't been used in years. This would have been a good spot, no car could see you behind this hedge, but there was a catch. We were here, and there was a house here. Annoyingly, it had a window which pointed exactly where we wanted to be, but there was no light on in this window. Could we get away with this? This was the best spot we found after an hour of cycling, so we took a chance. And despite the lack of shelter, we pitched up. I said we wanted to do 80 miles, and we did 83! It was the first time we'd exceeded expectations. We finished the day having reached mile 346. All we had to do now was maintain this momentum, because we had a special treat in store for tomorrow. This morning we woke up at around 6 AM and had struck the campsite by 7. We survived the night, and despite our risky position, no one tried to challenge us. Even still, we were keen to move on, and we set off for the village of Malpass. We made a quick stop while we were here, and had a nice breakfast in the old school tea room. After that we were off again, this time stopping for lunch in Frodsham, where we ate a Subway by the railway bridge. By day 7, our early recklessness had given way to an efficient routine, where we simply cycled from town to town, grabbing food along the way. In fact, today's trip went so smoothly, this is the only clip I recorded all day.
Silver Jubilee Bridge! Right around this corner.
The bridge was our passage over the River Mersey, but we had some troubles actually reaching it on the bikes. We briefly teamed up with a kind stranger to find our way here, but she shot off once it was in view.
Friendly little tour guide, just up the street there. Didn't learn her name.
To our left was the Ethelfleda Viaduct, a bridge for trains, but we were going straight ahead. This turned out to be a short day, but this was deliberate, as there was something far more precious waiting for us at the end. We finished the day in my parents' house near Wigan, which just so happened to be en route. We had all the creature comforts we'd been missing, showers, beds, we even ordered some Domino's pizza. It was a much needed break from the harsh conditions of wild camping. And if some of my veterans in the audience think they recognise this plant, it's probably because you've seen it before somewhere. Even though it was a short day, we still managed 65 miles, taking us up to 411 miles total. With our spirits refreshed, we were ready to take on the rest of the trip. These past few days are a bit of a mix. We did make good progress and we refreshed ourselves at my parents' place, but we did take the morale hit of losing Dom. Would we lose anyone else along the way? Would any of us actually make it to John O'Groats? Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss another gripping moment.